A poised black woman extends her hand across the polished conference table. The white executive, Leonard Harrison, glances at it with undisguised disdain. "I don't shake hands with staff," he says, smirking at his colleagues. The room temperature drops. She withdraws her hand with practiced composure. "I'm not staff," she states quietly. Leonard laughs, turning to his all-male executive team. "Then what are you doing in my building?" She opens her leather portfolio with deliberate movements. "Deciding whether to withdraw my $2 billion investment." Her voice never rises. The room freezes. Sophia Martinez steps out of her deliberately modest sedan in the Teranova Technologies parking lot. At 45, she carries herself with quiet confidence. Her understated elegance a calculated choice. Today's mission: evaluate whether Teranova deserves a $2 billion investment from her venture capital firm. She surveys the gleaming headquarters with practiced neutrality. Glass and steel stretch skyward, a monument to tech success and potentially toxic corporate culture. Inside comma. The receptionist glances up with a customer service smile that falters when she sees Sophia. "I'm here for my 10 o'clock with Leonard Harrison," Sophia states. "Are you with the administrative applicants? HR is on the 3rd floor." "I have an appointment with Mr. Harrison directly. Sophia Martinez." The receptionist checks her screen, skepticism evident. "Oh, please wait in that area." She gestures to a side seating section rather than the plush VIP lounge where 2 white men in suits are being served coffee. 45 minutes pass before Harrison's assistant retrieves her. Not the executive boardroom, but a small windowless meeting room awaits. Leonard Harrison barely looks up from his phone when she enters, gesturing vaguely toward a chair. 3 other executives exchange knowing glances. Internally, Sophia recognizes the pat, turn. 20 years in finance has taught her to read these signals. Each slight is familiar. She decides to observe how far they'll take the disrespect before revealing her position. Harrison finally sets down his phone. "So you're here about some diversity initiative?" His tone suggests this is an obligation to be endured. "I'm here to discuss potential investment opportunities," Sophia clarifies calmly. Harrison barely conceals his skepticism. "Right. Investment." As Harrison prepares his condescending pitch, Sophia's phone vibrates with a text from her CFO. "Ready to deploy or withdraw based on your assessment." "Let me walk you through what we do here at Teranova," Harrison begins, pulling up a presentation clearly designed for non-technical audiences. The slides feature cartoonish graphics and oversimplified diagrams. He speaks with exaggerated slowness, pausing after basic concepts. "Are you following so far?" he asks after explaining what an algorithm is. Sophia leans forward slightly. "Your prospectus mentions a proprietary deep learning architecture. Could you elaborate on how it differs from conventional transformer models, particularly regarding inference latency when deployed at scale?" Harrison blinks, momentarily thrown. "Well, it's quite technical. Maybe my CTO could explain the complicated stuff later." "I'm also curious about the discrepancy in your Q2 financial statements. Your reported R&D expenditure dropped 22% while claiming expanded research initiatives. How do those figures reconcile?" Harrison's expression hardens. "I think these complex financial matters might be beyond the scope of our discussion today. Perhaps we should focus on more appropriate topics like how Teranova approaches diversity initiatives." Inside Harrison's mind, alarms are sounding. This woman clearly knows her stuff. Rather than adjust his approach, he doubles down on condescension, his fragile authority threatened. "Let's take a quick break," Harrison announces abruptly. He turns to Sophia with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "How do you take your coffee? Lots of cream and sugar, I bet." The racist implication sits heavily in the room. Sophia registers every micro-expression, every unspoken exchange. She closes her portfolio with deliberate slowness. "Before we continue, I'd like to see your diversity and inclusion statistics for executive positions." Harrison's jaw tightens as he realizes this woman won't be easily dismissed. The meeting reconvenes with additional reinforcements, including Marcus Phillips, Terranova's diversity officer, and the only other person of color in the building above entry level. "What's the retention rate for those hires?" Sophia asks. Marcus falters. "I don't have those specific figures." "And promotion pathways. How many people of color have moved into senior leadership in the past 5 years? Harrison interrupts. "We're making progress. Rome wasn't built in a day." 5 more executives enter, all white men in their 50s. Harrison brightens immediately, standing to exchange firm handshakes. Sophia sits unacknowledged for 3 full minutes. When Harrison finally remembers her presence, his introduction is telling. "Gentlemen, this is Sophia. She's here today to discuss our diversity initiatives." Not Miss Martinez, not a potential investor, just Sophia. One executive whispers with deliberate audibility, "Diversity quotas. Play along, and she'll be gone by lunch." "Perhaps you'd like to share your story with the group," Harrison suggests patronizingly. "I'm sure everyone would be interested in hearing about your journey." When Sophia begins discussing market trends instead, Harrison interrupts. "That's not really what everyone is interested in. We have plenty of financial analysts. What we'd like to hear is your perspective as a—" He leaves the sentence hanging. A white man in a tailored suit enters. Harrison immediately stands, extending his hand with genuine respect. "Alan, glad you could join us." After greeting Alan warmly, Harrison turns back toward Sophia. Their eyes meet, and in that moment, Harrison makes his choice. He deliberately places his hands behind his back and states plainly, "I don't shake hands with staff." The room falls uncomfortably silent. Some executives look away, embarrassed but unwilling to intervene. Others smirk slightly, complicit. Sophia doesn't show shock or hurt, only a calm, evaluative gaze. Without breaking eye contact with Harrison, she reaches for her phone and sends a one-word text to her waiting team. "Execute." "If you'll excuse me," Sophia says evenly, rising from her seat. "I need to use the restroom." In the privacy of an empty bathroom stall, Sophia allows herself 3 deep breaths, not from distress, but to center her focus. Her hand is steady as she dials her CFO. "David, initiate Phase 1. Begin subtle market signals now. Make it look organic, just enough to get attention. And prepare the full documentation package. They've given us exactly what we came for." Meanwhile, in the conference room, Harrison chuckles with his team. "Another diversity box checked. Corporate relations will be pleased we took the meeting." His assistant hurries in, expression anxious. "Sir, there's something you should see." She shows him the screen. Terranova's stock has unexpectedly dipped 1.2% in the last 15 minutes. When Sophia returns, the mood has subtly shifted. Several executives are checking their phones. "Is something wrong?" Sophia asks innocently. "Nothing to concern yourself with," Harrison replies curtly. "Listen, I think we've covered everything for today. I'm sure you understand we have real business matters to attend to." "Of course," Sophia agrees pleasantly. "I just need one final meeting with you, Al." 1. Mr. Harrison. Once the door closes, Sophia's demeanor shifts subtly, still composed but with unmistakable firmness. "I'd like to review my experience at Teranova today," she begins. "I was kept waiting for 45 minutes, directed to a side area rather than your VIP lounge, presented with childish explanations, asked repeatedly if I could follow along, interrupted when discussing finance, referred to only by my first name, told my perspective was only valuable as a token, and finally explicitly refused a handshake with the statement that you don't shake hands with staff." Harrison begins to interrupt, but Sophia continues methodically. "I've recorded our entire interaction legally as Georgia is a one-party consent state." Harrison's face darkens as his phone buzzes urgently. While Harrison speaks in hushed, urgent tones, Sophia observes his office. "What do you mean, down 3%? Harrison hisses into his phone. "Johnson Capital Partners, never heard of them. Why would they—" He falls silent, listening. His eyes dart to Sophia as he taps furiously at his computer keyboard, color draining from his face as he reads. Sophia can track his discovery in real time. The frantic search for Sophia Martinez, the dawning horror as results populate. Founder and CEO of Johnson Capital Partners, one of the most powerful black-owned investment firms. Over $50 billion in managed assets. Harrison ends his call abruptly and stands, his entire demeanor transformed. The arrogance vanishes, replaced by naked panic. "Miss Martinez," he begins, voice suddenly obsequious. "I believe there's been a terrible misunderstanding. If I'd known who you were—" "No misunderstanding," Sophia interrupts. "You were perfectly clear about who you thought I was and how you felt that person should be treated." Harrison physically blocks her path. "Please, let's discuss this in private. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement." The commotion draws attention. Employees stop, watching. Some discreetly lift phones, recording. "The time for that conversation was when you thought I was nobody," Sophia says. He reaches for her arm but stops himself, awareness of witnesses dawning. As Sophia walks toward the exit, Teranova's stock price flashes red on lobby monitors, the decline accelerating to 7%. Whispers ripple through headquarters like electricity. Employees huddle around screens, searching Sophia Martinez and Johnson Capital Partners. Articles appear throughout the building. Johnson Capital's history of ethical investment withdrawal. How Sophia Martinez built a $50 billion empire demanding corporate accountability. In the executive boardroom, Harrison paces frantically. How did no one know who she was? The meeting was just listed as S. Martinez, potential investor, his assistant explains, trembling. There was no detailed briefing because you said it was just a diversity obligation meeting. Meanwhile, Sophia returns to her car where David and her executive team await. On tablets, they monitor Teranova's market position in real time. "Just our initial signals caused this drop," David explains. "No public announcement, just strategic calls to key analysts." Another team member presents documentation. Full transcription with timestamps. We've included industry statistics for comparison. "This isn't just about one company or one man," Sophia says. "This is about changing patterns." Back in Teranova's boardroom, Harrison's phone rings constantly. Board members demand explanations. Harrison attempts to call Sophia directly. "Johnson Capital Partners. This is Leonard Harrison. I need to speak with Sophia immediately." "I'm sorry, Mr. Harrison. Miss Martinez only takes calls from respectful potential business partners, not staff, as you put it." Breaking news alerts appear on every screen. Johnson Capital Partners has released a statement reconsidering investments in companies without demonstrable inclusive cultures. Teranova isn't named specifically, but the timing leaves no doubt. Harrison's phone chimes with a calendar invitation. Final investment decision meeting, Johnson Capital Partners, tomorrow 9 a.m. Morning financial shows buzz with speculation. Teranova Technologies experienced an unexplained 12% stock drop yesterday, reports a CNBC anchor. Sources suggest a major potential investor witnessed concerning behavior from CEO Leonard Harrison. Harrison arrives at his office to find the company in crisis. Through glass walls, he sees his board of directors assembled without inviting him. His assistant approaches cautiously with papers, emails from major shareholders demanding explanations. Words jump out. Deeply concerned, fiduciary responsibility, potential leadership change, emergency shareholder meeting. Across town at Johnson Capital's headquarters, Sophia conducts her strategy meeting. "Are we being too harsh?" asks a junior team member. "Teranova employs thousands. This could affect more than just Harrison." Sophia considers carefully. Systemic change requires consequences. Companies understand one language fluently: money. Her mind flashes through her career journey, graduating top of her class only to be offered assistant positions while male classmates received associate titles, working nights and weekends to prove her worth, being mistaken for administrative staff at every firm, building her own investment company from nothing while clients questioned her credentials. Back at Teranova, Harrison huddles with his legal team. "We need to save the stock price," he insists. "Promise whatever diversity initiatives they want. Just make this go away." His attorney looks skeptical. "My advice is to appear contrite without admitting specific fault." On social media, #TeranovaToxic begins trending. Anonymous employees share stories. "I was told to straighten my hair if I wanted client-facing roles. My accent was mocked in executive meetings. HR buried 3 discrimination complaints last year alone." Johnson Capital Partners headquarters stands in stark contrast to Terranova's flashy campus. The building is elegant but understated, its power evident in location rather than ostentatious design. The lobby features artwork from underrepresented artists and a wall displaying the firm's commitment, building wealth through values. Leonard Harrison arrives precisely at 9 a.m. Only his attorney accompanies him, both looking tense. The receptionist greets them politely but without warmth. "Miss Martinez will see you shortly. Please wait here." Harrison checks his watch repeatedly as minutes turn to 45 minutes exactly, the same time Sophia was kept waiting. When they're finally escorted to the conference room, Harrison freezes. This is not the small meeting he expected. Sophia sits at the head of a massive table, now dressed in an impeccably tailored designer suit. Around her sits her full executive team, the company's board, and representatives from 3 other major investment firms. The power dynamics couldn't be more reversed. "Mr. Harrison," she says, not rising, "please take a seat." Harrison attempts control immediately. "Miss Martinez, I'd like to begin by expressing sincere regret for any misunderstandings. Teranova values diversity." "This isn't about misunderstandings," Sophia interrupts calmly. "This is about accountability." She opens a folder. Johnson Capital Partners was considering not just a $2 billion investment in Teranova Technologies, but potentially acquiring the company outright. Harrison's attorney shifts uncomfortably. "We've been researching Teranova for 6 months. Yesterday's visit was the final assessment, a character evaluation of leadership." She slides a thick binder across the table documenting not just yesterday's incidents, but a pattern throughout Terranova's culture. Harrison flips through pages of testimonials from former employees, internal communications, pay disparity statistics, and promotion records, all revealing systematic bias. "How did you get these internal documents?" "Former employees who were silenced by NDAs, but who legally can speak to potential investors conducting due diligence," Sophia explains. "Your legal department should have advised you of that exception." One investment firm representative leans forward. "Johnson Capital approached us 3 months ago about a new initiative. We're collectively establishing investment standards that include corporate culture assessments. Teranova was our test case. Miss Martinez volunteered to conduct the final evaluation personally." Harrison suddenly understands. Sophia wasn't seeking his approval. She was determining whether he deserved her money. "Johnson Capital was founded with a specific mission," Sophia says. "For generations, people who look like me had to beg for seats at tables owned by people who look like you. I built my own table." She gestures to the executives around her, diverse in gender, race, and age. "We manage over $50 billion in assets. The coalition represented in this room controls over $200 billion. Terranova's future literally sits in the hands of the woman you wouldn't shake hands with yesterday." "This is reverse discrimination," Harrison attempts desperately. "You're targeting me because I'm a white male." Sophia's expression doesn't change as she presses a button. The room's speakers play his voice clearly. I don't shake hands with staff. The recording continues with his other comments, each more damning than the last. What do you want? He asks finally, defeat evident. Sophia slides another document across the table. Harrison expects an acquisition offer at a reduced price. Instead, he finds comprehensive changes required to Teranova's corporate governance, hiring practices, and company culture. This isn't a negotiation, Sophia states. It's the only path forward if Teranova wants to avoid complete investor boycott. The fallout unfolds like controlled demolition. Day 1. Teranova's board votes unanimously to remove Leonard Harrison permanently. They appoint CFO Patricia Winters as interim CEO, their first female executive. The stock stabilizes at 15% below previous value. Day 2. Johnson Capital shares documentation with the EEOC, triggering official investigation. Day 3. Former employees begin coming forward as NDAs become unenforceable. Inside Teranova's boardroom, Patricia Winters leads an emergency session. We have 3 paths: fight the allegations and lose, make superficial changes to weather the storm, or commit to genuine transformation. James Stewart argues for resistance. This is extortion. No, Patricia counters. They're using market forces to assign costs to discrimination. The pivotal moment comes when Thomas Chen speaks. My daughter graduated top of her class from MIT in computer science. She worked at a company like ours for 18 months. Her ideas were attributed to male colleagues. She was interrupted in meetings, assigned administrative tasks despite her technical role, and ultimately left the industry entirely. How many brilliant minds have we lost because we created environments where they couldn't thrive? The board votes 11-2 to implement all changes. Day 7. Teranova announces comprehensive overhaul. Transparent pay scales, blind resume reviews, mentorship programs, leadership restructuring, and regular independent audits with results tied to executive compensation. The tech industry reacts with shock and adaptation. CEOs call emergency meetings to assess their own vulnerability. Venture capital firms begin including culture assessments in due diligence. Meanwhile, Harrison attempts damage control, portraying himself as victim of woke capitalism. Then Bloomberg publishes Pattern of Prejudice, detailing settlements and NDAs from 3 previous companies. Former allies distance themselves overnight. Sophia faces her own challenges. A CNBC interviewer questions her directly. Some say you're using financial coercion to impose your values. How is that different from the power imbalances you claim to oppose? Sophia answers without hesitation. The difference is that I'm using this power to open doors, not keep them closed. Power itself isn't the problem. It's whether it's used to expand or limit opportunity. 3 months after Harrison's removal, Patricia presents preliminary results. Improved employee retention, increased applications from diverse candidates, gradual stock recovery. This isn't a quick fix, she cautions. We're undoing patterns established over years, but the trajectory is clear. 6 months later, Teranova unveils its new permanent executive team reflecting genuine diversity. Patricia Winters, now confirmed as permanent CEO, addresses everyone. Today marks not the end, but the beginning of Teranova's transformation. We've learned that inclusion isn't a peripheral value, but a core business strategy. The federal courthouse fills with journalists, former employees, industry observers, and Sophia sitting quietly in the back row. Today, Leonard Harrison faces formal hearing on consolidated discrimination complaints. Harrison enters flanked by expensive legal team, still projecting confidence despite his fall from grace. The proceedings begin with opening statements portraying Harrison as a traditional leader caught in shifting expectations. The plaintiff's counsel describes a deliberate, documented pattern spanning decades. When Harrison takes the stand, his testimony reveals his unchanged perspective. I've always maintained a meritocratic environment. If certain groups weren't advancing, Perhaps we should examine their qualifications. The turning point comes when Jessica Chen testifies that Harrison explicitly instructed staff to treat visitors differently based on race and gender. When Miss Martinez's visit was scheduled, he told me to treat it as a diversity obligation meeting, not a serious investment discussion, despite the potential investment amount in the briefing materials. Harrison's facade cracks under cross-examination about the handshake comment. I treat everyone with the level of respect they deserve based on their position, he responds defensively. That's just business. So you believe certain people deserve less basic courtesy based on your perception of their status? That's how the world works, Harrison snaps. Those at the top earn their position and the respect that comes with it. After 3 days of testimony, the committee announces findings. Harrison personally violated multiple anti-discrimination statutes. The penalties are severe. Industry disbarment preventing him from serving as an officer in any public company for 10 years, significant financial penalties, and mandatory disclosure of his discrimination history. As the room clears, Harrison finds himself face-to-face with Sophia. You destroyed everything I built, he says, voice low with contained fury. You built something that shouldn't have existed, Sophia responds calmly. A company culture that systematically excluded talented people based on what they looked like rather than what they could contribute. You had no right. I had every right. You had power and used it to diminish others. I have power and used it to create consequences for that choice. 1 year later, the Grand Hyatt Ballroom hosts the annual Financial Innovation Summit. The featured panel draws standing room-only attendance. Sophia Johnson takes the center seat, flanked by Patricia Winters and representatives from major investment firms. 1 year ago, Teranova faced crisis. Today, they're outperforming market averages by 12%. Miss Martinez, did you anticipate this outcome? This was never about punishing one company, Sophia responds. It was about challenging the assumption that discrimination has no cost. Markets efficiently price tangible assets, but have historically failed to account for the value of inclusive cultures and diverse thinking. Johnson Capital presents its newly developed certification for inclusive workplace practices, now being incorporated into investment due diligence across the industry. Patricia nods toward Sophia. Initially, we viewed these standards as a requirement to regain investor confidence. Now, we recognize them as competitive advantages. Our talent acquisition costs have decreased 22%, while application quality has improved. 12 major firms have fully implemented the standards with another 30 in process. Even reluctant companies follow suit as the market assigns tangible value to cultural assessments. Harrison's attempt at a comeback falters. His new cryptocurrency exchange collapses when potential backers discover his history through mandatory disclosure requirements. Johnson Capital continues its trajectory, now managing $75 billion in assets. Former Teranova employees who testified find themselves recruited for leadership positions elsewhere. Their courage becomes a marketable asset in companies eager to demonstrate commitment to healthy cultures. The industry's demographic landscape shifts measurably. Statistics show a 15% increase in diverse leadership across the sector. Other companies face their own reckonings. 3 major tech firms proactively restructure after internal assessments. Each case reinforces the new reality. Culture problems now carry quantifiable financial risk. As Sophia accepts the Industry Changemaker Award, she approaches the podium with an unexpected announcement. Today, we're launching our most ambitious initiative yet, a $10 billion fund exclusively for underrepresented founders. Sophia stands at her office window overlooking the city skyline. The wall behind her desk displays Johnson Capital's updated investment portfolio, Teranova now prominently featured following their completed transformation. Under Patricia Winters' leadership, Teranova implemented not just required changes, but embraced the spirit behind them. Most satisfying to Sophia is what doesn't make headlines. the daily experiences of employees who no longer face the thousand small cuts of bias. No more ideas ignored until repeated by male colleagues. No more assumptions about capabilities based on appearance. Marcus Phillips, once the token diversity officer, now serves as Teranova's chief people officer with genuine influence. Sophia turns from the window as her assistant announces the arrival of her 4 o'clock appointment, a mentoring session with young women of color entering finance. Today, quote, S Group includes 6 promising analysts from various firms. After discussing market trends and career strategies, one asks the question many wonder, but few voice. How did you maintain your composure during the Teranova incident? I would have lost my temper after the first insult. Sophia considers this thoughtfully. I've played the long game my entire career. Each slight, each dismissal, each assumption. They weren't just personal affronts, but data points confirming what needed to change. Reacting emotionally might have been satisfying momentarily, but would have undermined the larger mission. Her mind briefly returns to her early career, the 23-year-old Sophia being told women don't have the analytical mindset for serious finance, working weekends while male peers advanced through golf outings. The pattern of having to be twice as prepared, twice as poised, twice as persistent, just to receive equal consideration. I didn't build this firm just to make money. I built it to change who has power and how they use it. That requires strategic patience and choosing the right moment to act decisively. As the session concludes, she walks them past the company's mission statement etched in glass. Capital is power. Power requires responsibility. Weeks later, Sophia sits across from the CEO of a pharmaceutical company seeking significant investment. Unlike Leonard Harrison, this executive has done his homework. He presents not just financial projections, but comprehensive diversity statistics, transparent pay structures, and documented promotion pathways. We've been implementing these practices for 3 years, he explains, not because of external pressure, but because diverse perspectives improve our research outcomes and market understanding. Sophia studies both the data and the man presenting it, noting the genuine comfort he shows with his female chief science officer, who interjects frequently without hesitation. She extends her hand across the table with a genuine smile. Now this is a company I'd be proud to invest in. True power isn't measured by who you can refuse to acknowledge, but by who you choose to elevate.